Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of B&A Sports Talk. This is episode 112, and I don't know the significance of that, but what I want to talk about today is quarterbacks. And so I want to talk about Dak Prescott. I mean, a deal can be done any minute now or any day. I'm not sure. It can be 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, it can be as I'm talking right now. They may have already done the deal, and I have no idea. But so I want to talk about what the Dallas Cowboys are saying with their actions. So first of all, I said a couple weeks ago that signing Amari Cooper and trading for him was actually a bad thing. Now, first of all, you weren't that good at wide receiver at that point. Not pretty good. They were awful. They had Blake Jarwin. They were just awful. Like tight end, every single position they were awful at. They were 3-5. They were gonna play really bad. They were on the verge of just quitting on the season. And then they made one move with Amari Cooper, and it seemed like everything changed. Now, what they sacrificed with that is they sacrificed a high first-round pick. And they didn't, last draft, they did not pick any single position for a quarterback. They could have picked Easton Stick. They could have picked Jarrett Stidham, later in those rounds. But they decided to go for some running back depth. Now, what they decided was, you know what? We're not sure about Ezekiel Elliott. We're not sure if we want to pay him, but we're sure we want to pay for Dak Prescott. That's the sign they said. If they weren't sure if they wanted to pay Dak Prescott, they wouldn't have had... I don't even know who their backup quarterbacks are. It's pathetic right now. And backup quarterback is one of the highest, valued positions, especially by the Eagles, who I think just signed Josh McCown, who's coming out of retirement. That's how scared they are. And, you never know with the freak injury, and their whole season can be gone. And next year, what do you think they're going to draft a quarterback and all of a sudden, franchise Dak 2 times or whatever they want to do, and then draft a quarterback? No, they're not going to do that next year because rookie quarterbacks don't play well. Jerry Jones in it, he's all in on Dak. So that means you're going to have to pay him. And Jerry Jones has been very, very nice to Dak Prescott. He's, stuck by his side with the whole anthem thing. They've kind of fed off each other over the past couple years, with Jerry Jones' comments about Dak Prescott. He moved off Tony Romo, who he loved. Jerry Jones hasn't moved off of Jason Garrett yet, who is, by all means, a horrible coach. He's one of the worst coaches. Scott Linehan, or Ross Linehan, whatever his name is, they finally jumped off him. He is loyal to everybody, and he's loyal to Dak Prescott. And so they decided to pay him. If I had to guess what the contract is going to be, I'd say the 4-year, $33.3 million range. I think at this point he has all the leverage. You gave all the leverage to Dak Prescott, and you're kind of hoping that he didn't ask for a lot, but he ended up doing it. The thing is, he would be getting $28 million a year this year if, they look like what they did in the first half. If, they end up going 7-9, they ended up not making the playoffs, which is what they would have done without Amari Cooper. Now, Dak Prescott looks like such an amazing quarterback because, you know what? He had one of the best offensive lines. You had a decent wide receiver core. And now with Randall Cobb, with Amari Cooper, he's going to look even better. So you have to do this extension now because he's only going to look better after this year. The Dallas Cowboys did hamstring themselves. They thought Dak Prescott would only ask for $25 million and ask for that hometown discount, but it ended up not working out. And good luck with the Cowboys. They're gonna have to pay a bunch of players. Sometimes adding a bunch of players does not mean you're gonna be great. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. You can't say, let's get every single great player because, eventually that's going to create conflict with who you're going to pay, when you're going to pay them. You need some depth pieces, and definitely the Cowboys do not have depth pieces. They're really top-heavy with every single position they have, in my opinion. They have an amazing linebacking core, but, if one of those guys gets injured, who's going to replace them? Especially their secondary. I think their secondary is really overrated. Let's shift off the Cowboys. And let's start talking about more quarterbacks. So last night, Daniel Jones played pretty well. I mean, he was patting the ball too much in the shotgun, in the pocket. I don't love that. I really don't. It's kind of like an old habit. He's trying to get the ball out a little bit too quick rather than, seeing the field. I think analyzing too much. He's kind of just like, quick read, go. But that's what the Giants want to do with him. I'm not a professional quarterback coach, so I'm not really going to comment on that, but I want to comment on this. So a lot of people are saying, oh, when are you going to jump off Eli? Oh, it's going to be week 6, week 8, over under. No, I don't really buy jumping off Eli Manning this quickly. People say, oh, look at Aaron Rodgers. Even the Green Bay Packers moved off Brett Favre. Yeah, it took them 3 years to move off of Brett Favre. I'm not sure if you realize that. It took the 49ers a year and a half to move off of Alex Smith. It took a year for Kansas City to get rid of Alex Smith. And I don't think those quarterbacks are much better than what Eli Manning is right now. I think Eli Manning is a serviceable guy, and you don't want to throw Daniel Jones to the woods because all of a sudden, what are you going to do now? If he all of a sudden stinks up the joint, you're going to have Eli on the bench, and people are going to be begging for Eli to come back, and it'll just be too much controversy. Now, what you have to do is let Eli, a veteran, come in, teach Daniel Jones how to do it. Eli Manning has done, I think, a really good job being in that quarterback room, helping Daniel Jones out, and saying, you know what, here's the thing to do, here's the thing to don't do, here's how you conduct yourself. Eli Manning is the leader, and Daniel Jones is following him. How much of a leader will Eli Manning be if Daniel Jones is playing and he's like, oh, do this, 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 and this? Then Eli Manning will just be a coach, and Eli Manning doesn't want to coach. He wants to play the game. And, so Eli Manning is in a pretty rough spot right now. He's more, even though he does want to say it, he's more motivated than ever. That's going to light a fire under his butt, and that's going to rejuvenate the entire team. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll move on to Daniel Jones. We have a backup plan, unlike some teams. Some teams were scared to draft a quarterback for their backup. Teams like the Steelers, teams like the Dallas Cowboys, teams like even the Lions. They drafted a guy a couple years ago. I forget his name, out of Miami. I think it was Brad Kea or something like that. But a lot of teams are nervous to draft the guy behind. And by the way, Matt Stafford isn't going anywhere. I've heard people saying, oh, why is Matt Stafford not on the trade block? Well, like on the chopping block. Well, he's in the second year of a contract that's a 5-year contract that's paying him $28 million a year. The Lions committed to him, and I think the Lions could be a competitor if they get Jadeveon Clowney. I think they want to run 3-4, and Jadeveon Clowney is he'll be stood up on that on the linebacking core, and I don't think the Lions would have to give up much for him because Jadeveon Clowney has to agree. There are a lot of things that have to go together. Jadeveon Clowney has to agree, and the Lions have to agree, and the Texans have to agree to the trade, and plus they're going to have to pay him around $16-17 million a year, which is their entire cap space for the rest of the year. I think Jadeveon Clowney can work in the, what is it called, the Ford Center? I'm pretty sure it's called the Ford Center, whatever their stadium is named, because he works with the Texans. He's played in a dome. He's played in Texas his entire career, but with the Lions, he's going to play in a dome. I know you're probably going to play outside in Green Bay, in Minnesota, in in Soldier Field. But that's really only once a year. Different things like that. I think that's a little bit of a problem, but not too much of a problem. I think Jadeveon Clowney will be a great fit with the Lions. As far as other teams that may look, the Texans are going to look for a left tackle, so I've heard the Eagles. I think their defensive line is fine. I think they run a 4-3. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is a scheme fit, especially the Eagles. I think they want more linebackers rather than defensive line, but I don't know about them. I'm looking at different teams. Kansas City Chiefs already addressed their pass rush. They're pretty good with Frank Clark. You don't want to pay two guys, upwards of $35 million, even $40 million to play that. And teams are going to want to get Jadeveon Clowney if they think they're going to sign for him long term, or if they think, hey, we're just a defensive edge rusher away from winning this entire thing. Teams that are really close, you could say the Colts, they've already paid their guy in Justin Houston. You could say maybe the Chargers, but they lost Derwin James. They're probably looking for a guy in the secondary. You could say, who else? The Rams, because their linebacking core is a little bit weak, but I do think they run a 4-3. I'm not too sure how much of a scheme fit he would be with the Rams. You can offer Andrew Whitworth, like a veteran guy, but I don't think the Rams would want to let up a guy who's a locker room presence and a guy like that. I think that they're looking for more of a great emerging left tackle, and they're gonna have to find it. It's gonna be like the shoe that Cinderella fit. It has to be the perfect fit. So the Texans might end up keeping Jadeveon Clowney because It's one more year left on the contract, but they're going to be pressured to get rid of him as well. So they're in a tough spot. As far as other teams, just off the top of my head, because I haven't really thought about this much, to be totally honest, not too many teams that are competitive need a defensive lineman. The Patriots, maybe, the top echelon teams that are looking for a guy. The Browns feel like they're good. You could say maybe the Titans, because they have a decent offensive line. Not sure their left tackle is. Maybe get Conklin, whatever, because he's in the fifth year of his he's in the fourth year of his rookie contract. And I don't think the Titans are gonna pick up his fifth-year option. I don't think they did pick up his fifth-year option. So there's a thing with that. But yeah, Jadeveon Clowney, if he joins the Giants too, that'd be great. We are running a 3-4 now, so he'd be a perfect scheme fit, outside linebacker. He can work with O'Shane Ximines, bring some talent to this team. Marcus Golden kind of help those guys out. And we're going to have a lot of cap space next year. So if I were the Giants, I just wait it out and just sign him to a big deal, because you see how he plays this year, whether he gets injured or not. And if he wants to play for us next year, that'd be great. Going back to Daniel Jones, the last couple of points I want to make on that is okay, so the Colts moved off Peyton Manning. Oh, wait, Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls, or went to 2 Super Bowls afterwards. Andrew Luck went to 0, and he's injured. I know you're increasing your likelihood for a long-term career, but, honestly, it hasn't really worked out for a lot of teams that jumped off, the bandwagon. You could say Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, but Favre's only won 1 Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers won 1 Super Bowl, and Brett Favre should have went to a Super Bowl if it wasn't for a boneheaded play. So you could say that it's worked out for some teams, but it really hasn't for much. I mean, the Eagles moved off of Foles. We'll see how that works. The Kansas City Chiefs moved off of Mahomes, Alex Smith. We'll see how that works. Didn't really work out too much with the 49ers and Colin Kaepernick and that whole situation. The Ravens moved off of Joe Flacco for Lamar Jackson. We'll see how that plays out. But this is a relatively new thing. We usually just waited for the guys to retire, and I can't really remember too many examples from the distant future, because I wasn't there. But you could say Joe Montana and Steve Young. I'm pretty sure Joe Montana had a good career with the Chiefs, even though they didn't win a Super Bowl. I think he did pretty well. Sometimes moving off a guy is great. Sometimes it's not. You really never know. And I mentioned the scenario with the Giants, and you have to look at case-by-case basis. You can't just say, oh, this rule fits. Let's use it for all of them. But, yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think about Dak Prescott, about Eli Manning, about Daniel Jones, about Jadeveon Clowney, landing spots for him. I think that it's going to be tight. But we said the same thing about Khalil Mack last year. He joined the Bears, and the Bears ended up being a really good team. And I think the Lions, on the precipice of that, they would have Trey Flowers and Jadeveon Clowney, 2 guys that are injured, but pass rush is pretty important in this league, and 2 great linebackers, veteran at this point linebackers. I think it can work really well together. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.